There we go.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Look at you. It's so good to see your face.
I know. This is awesome to live in a time of technology where we can still see each other.
That's right. That's right. You look cozy in your scarf. I like it.
Thank you.
We're
I've
having
turned my dining room into my office.
Yeah, it looks good.
Thanks, girl.
Oh, well, I am so excited to get to talk to you today. We get to talk often, but not necessarily through Zoom. And so we're used to having face-to-face connection, right?
Right,
So
right.
this is kind of different, but
It is.
we're rolling with it.
You just gotta do what you gotta do.
That's right. So, but today I'm excited to talk to you about our rest retreat that we had
Right,
back in January. But
right.
before we get into that, just wanted to give some background. So you and
Sure.
I have known each other for a while now. I'm trying to
Yeah,
think.
probably about 6, 7 years
Yeah,
now. Because
yeah.
you were some of the first people I met when I moved to Dothan.
Yes. And
So,
so we met through church and through small group and mutual friends.
mhm,
And I can honestly say that God knew that we needed to be friends
I agree. I agree.
because we've gotten to go on girl trips together
Right,
and we have gotten to be accountability partners and just
right.
support one another with babies and
Yes,
life. And not only the two of us getting to do that, but we have a group that we get to kind of share life with
right.
together. And so that has been, I know, just one of the greatest gifts for me, is to have
Absolutely
that
it is.
friendship and
Absolutely.
that connection. And I think something that always kind of drew me to you from the beginning, you're a teacher, right? And so
Yes.
I've always loved how organized you've
Yeah.
been and
Yeah. I do
love
like
your
that part of
planner.
life. Yes. I do enjoy that part of life. I like to organize and I like routine and structure. So I tend to bring that to many of things.
Yeah. And so
That's my spiritual gift.
that's right. And you love to teach not little ones, but you like to
Right.
teach the
Right.
elementary age.
Mhm, mhm. Second grade right now.
Yeah.
And I've taught fourth. So those are kind of some pretty sweet grades to teach. So um, not, yeah, like you said, not little, but medium.
But you are teaching a little one at your house right
I
now.
am. I'm
Tell
teaching
us
my
about your
little
family.
one. So I've been married to my husband Payne now for 6 years in March, and he is from Dothan, so that's what drew us to the Dothan area. And
Yeah.
we have a son named Reeds, who is Payne's mini-me, right down to a T.
Yes.
And he just turned 2 in February. So it has been a very exciting time to stay home. He's really grown in his language development, his cognitive development. So we've had a good time. Like it's an exciting time to be home with him. But he does have more energy than I have most days.
Yes.
That
Usually
has
by
been
the
a challenge.
afternoons, I'm like, all right, mama needs
Yeah,
a break too.
yeah. We've watched Frozen 100 times.
Yes. Frozen 2, right?
Both. We go back and forth.
Oh,
Just when I
yeah.
can't handle one, I go back to the other.
I love it. I love
So,
it. And does he still love Elmo right now?
Um, we've
He's kind
kind
of growing into
of
it.
gotten back from Elmo. It's either Thomas the Train or Frozen. So
Yes.
we go back
Yeah.
and forth between all that.
I
So
love it so much.
it's been fun.
And it's fun because we have children that are different ages. And,
Mhm.
with me, you have always been my person that I go to. And I'm like, Megan, I've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Help me to organize my life and help
Right.
me to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. And
Right.
you're so good at
Well,
that.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And
It
so,
is it is something that I think takes practice over time, and I'm not perfect at that either. But
yeah.
it is something that I enjoy doing, just helping people understand their purpose or achieve their goals. I do enjoy
Mhm.
doing that. I feel blessed when I can do that in friendships.
Yeah. Well, you do a really great job about it. And I know right now you've just been sending like little encouragements to us to kind of keep us going through the week. Um and you have been doing that for me for years now. And so that is something
Oh,
that is just really
thank
special
you.
about
Praise.
you, and wanted
Thank
to
you
love
for
on you for that because you've definitely poured into my life. And that's kind of what brought us, it, with us being friends, and going through life together, being
right,
moms and working, and
right.
just trying to balance our families and church and everything. We have really been talking for years now about
Mhm.
this idea of having a rest retreat.
Right.
And we thought, I mean, I think the first time we started talking about it was in a car ride home
Yeah.
from a girls' trip
Right.
where we were
Yes.
very rested and we had a great
Right.
time.
Right.
But we said we need something that's a little bit different than this.
Right.
And so, kind of tell me, like, what drew you to this concept of having a rest retreat, and what led you to wanting to not only attend, but help plan it and be part of it?
Right. I think for me, the concept of a rest retreat and exploring the definition of rest in a godly sense was sort of born just maybe out of my phase in my season of life. I'm a huge yes person. I love to say yes, even to my detriment sometimes when I overcommit and I overschedule and then I stress myself out and then I get into this big cycle of that. And so when I started looking at the definition of true biblical rest, it really opened up my eyes to saying yes to things, saying no to things, and just balancing life. And I think that of so many of my friends and people that I know who are mothers, young mothers in their career, working jobs, husband, we don't balance things very well. And a lot of times what falls tends to be us. Like we are last in our own lives. And that's just not biblically correct. If you study scripture, we're all called to rest. And so I think that opened up my heart to other women who are in the same season of life as me and just maybe struggling with balancing it all and having time for themselves and understanding how vital rest is to our lives. And so that just got my wheels turning on how can we turn this into a way to reach women, to not only tell them how important rest is, but to give them opportunities to come and truly rest. And I think that's where you and I connected when we talked so many times about keeping all of these things spinning in the air. And when we finally came to the point where we felt brave enough to do a rest retreat, how much we really needed it.
Right.
And so that's kind of where my heart has been lately.
That's good, Megan, because you're right. I think as women, we're so busy taking care of other
Right.
people. And
Right.
so we think, rest for us, honestly, I mean, just being completely real here, sometimes that looks like binging on Netflix, or
Right.
eating, some dessert, or having a girls' night and
Right.
fun, and, that kind of stuff. And yes, while all those things are versions of rest and kind of taking time for yourself, I wouldn't necessarily say that they are as fulfilling as this biblical rest that you're referring to. And it's a different kind of rest. And for me, I've had to take time to kind of distinguish that in my life, because I thought, well, I'm having a girls' night, or I'm doing these things, but what's the difference? Like, how would you define this type of rest that we experienced? You know,
Right. Right. I think the best way that I can describe it right now is just how your soul finds rest. And
mm,
everybody can find that a little bit differently. For some people, it's going to do some sort of exercise. For some people, it's going to sit on the beach. For some people, it's being surrounded by your family on a movie night. But it's just how your soul can stop and pause and be with the Lord. And more so than just like a daily quiet time. I think all of us at some extent have done daily quiet times, and they may last for 10 minutes, 30 minutes in the morning, and then you go about your day. This is just a length of time to pause and just rest your soul in the Lord.
Mhm.
And at times it can look different to everybody, but the main goal is true, unhurried time to spend with our Savior. And that's hard to find these days. That is hard to find, but you're right, it is so much more than just sort of these like, well, I'm gonna lay down and watch my favorite show for 2 hours and that's rest. That may give your body rest, and it may to an extent give your mind rest, but it doesn't give your soul rest. And so
Right.
there's a big difference in those things.
Yeah. I know that's been a journey for me. And then when we actually began to plan our rest retreat, one of the biggest things that we said is we're going to have unscheduled time.
Right.
And that was like,
Right.
what?
That freaked me out.
What does that mean? Like it kind of threw
Right.
me off, you know?
Right.
But when we began to plan out our time, we were together for basically a day and a half for our first retreat. And what I loved, and a big part of the role that you played, was you helped pick our
Yes.
retreat
Yeah.
location.
Yes.
And you found us this lovely place called Nubbington Lodge. And you and I, honestly, we went back and forth because we were like, should this be someplace local? Should we go
Right.
away? How far away? What's the time? And
Right.
that's where I was like, Megan, help. You like,
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what's best. And so tell me what like drew you to that
Right.
location. And then once we were there, just what the experience was like.
Right. So I knew I did not want it to be locally to the extent of in town, because I truly felt like women would have a hard time with that mental separation of I'm away, but I'm still home, or
Mhm.
I can just run home real quick, or I'm not that far, or I knew we needed some physical distance, but I didn't want to do such a great distance that we spent most of our time traveling to or from a destination, because we were kind of limited on time.
Mhm.
And so I wanted people to be able to get there quickly and come home quickly, but still be far enough that they felt like, okay, I am away. And so I just searched. I just started searching and praying, and then it popped up, and I clicked on it at first, and I thought there is no way this actually exists in the middle of nowhere, Georgia. But it did, and it was lovely, and I knew it was perfect for us. It had enough beds. It had 4 bathrooms, which was so important for all of us ladies. And it was just out in nature, which I think is important for a lot of people for finding rest. And so the horses were so sweet. We got to see the horses and be
Yeah.
near the lake. And I liked the lodge itself. It was cozy enough, and we got to do like family style dinners around the big table. And but it was separate enough that everyone could still find their own little space when we did our unscheduled times. And so I thought that was just a really unique place to have it for the first time. And I just enjoyed the atmosphere that it created so much.
Yeah.
Um,
You
and I
got it
think
home.
it did feel like home. It did. And everybody just got along so well with everybody. And I think that being able to create that atmosphere helped sort of set that tone for the weekend.
Yeah.
Um, so that was a good find. That was fun.
I know. It's like a little treasure.
It was. It was.
And so then once we got there, kind of go over what it was like to experience the rest retreat. We had spent all this time planning it
Right.
and scheduling this, even though we had unscheduled time, we still had to schedule
Right.
an outline kind of what would take
Right.
place during our time together. And so we did do different things. We, like you said, we ate really well, and we got to do some holy yoga, and we had unscheduled time to go on walks, and we had devotions and fellowship. And so kind of tell me what that was like just to get to go through it.
Well, I think for me, the first thing I had to do in planning it and being a participant is lay down the agenda. Because I am such a schedule person and itinerary person, blank spaces make me nervous.
Yeah.
And so I had to lay that expectation down when I got there. And I'm so glad I did, because what I enjoyed most about the weekend was how things sort of formed organically, like the
Mhm.
friendships that I made, the connections that I made, the conversations that happened. Um, it had space to happen, and it wasn't so scheduled that we couldn't do those things. And so I loved the food we ate. That was so fun and just nourishing to our bodies.
Yeah.
And our soul. The holy yoga experiences were wonderful, just being able to pause and move our body in a way that was just glorifying to the Lord. And then the unscheduled time was wonderful too. I spent a little bit of the time by myself, just enjoying reading myself. But then I spent time with and out other people and getting to know people that I had just met or knew but didn't know well. And just being able to have the time to do that was so nice. And then to top it all off with our devotions, that was wonderful too, because we purposely planned this to be at the beginning of the year because we wanted to set the tone for the year. And now, knowing the way this year has gone, it's a good thing that we did, because I really think that retreat at the beginning of the year has really set a lot of my attitude for this year.
I
Um,
agree.
and what a year we've had. So it's been a good thing that I had that time to rest before this happened.
Mhm.
So it was just the perfect mixture of devotional and people and food and time to breathe and time to talk. It was very nice. And for someone who likes every hour to be planned, I walked away understanding how important it is to not have everything planned.
Yes. And that I felt like giving us permission to rest and to breathe.
Right.
I got to experience God in a different way.
Mhm.
And it's like there was room in my soul to open up to hear him, you know.
Yes.
And I know people are often like, well, God doesn't physically talk to you, like, what do you mean you hear God? But it was through the conversations that I had
Mhm.
with other people, or I know for me, I went on a really long walk
Mhm.
first
Yeah.
afternoon. And just like you said, being in nature and getting to see the horses and the
Right.
property and just feeling the wind on my face, I felt like God, for me, was just saying, like, Kristen, I just want you to be well,
Right.
and that was kind of what the theme that I kept hearing. And I know different women heard from the Lord too. And one thing that you did that I thought was fun was you had like a vision board for
Mhm.
your year, because as a school teacher, we've joked how your year really starts in August,
Right.
but then
Right.
it also starts in January,
Right.
the new
Mhm.
year. And
Mhm.
so I think now that we are, we've experienced this, we know like we want to offer it at least twice a year,
Right. Right.
because we know
Yes.
that people have different starting points for their
Right.
year. So we plan on having our next
Yes.
retreat September 11th through 13th.
Yes.
But one of the things, tell me about like your vision board and how, like, have you still been using that as
Yeah, so in our free time, I made one for me, and then I made one for my son Reese because I love the little handouts that our church gives us after Sunday school, and so I tack his on his board every week in his room so he can just review his little lesson. We review it
fun?
together, and then for me, I just put on my board. I have a she shed. So I put my board out in my she shed, and it just has my word of the year right now. And my word of this year was the word savor, which again was an interesting choice of word that the Lord laid on my heart for this year because of the season that we are going through, everybody. So I just have that on my board right now, and it just is a reminder for me to look up, and when I feel stressed or when I feel hurried or not rested, I look up and I see that word, and I just reminded of that verse that says taste and see that the Lord is good. And so any season that we're in right now, and this one is certainly a unique one, that board just helps me to remember to stop and savor, and that I will not have this time again for who knows how long with my family. And so it's just a way for me to stop and pause and to remember what I had intended to do this year.
I love that, because even I'm sure if you're like me, like the word wellness and being well, it kind of came to me at the beginning of the
Right.
here, but now that I'm living it out, it looks a little different, but it still is like I see why that
Right.
was important, you know?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's been really neat. And you said the word savor. And for me, I love that word, by the way. You know me, I love food. But it's more than food.
Right.
But during our retreat, we went through Psalm 23.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about how the Lord is our shepherd, and with him, we have everything we need. He makes us lie down in green pastures, but also talks about how he lays a table before us.
Yes.
And that was one of the things that I thought was so beautiful in our time together. And on our very last day, you led us through this lovely tea.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and and that was very thought out, and it was intentional to end
Mm-hmm.
the time together at the
Mm-hmm.
table. And
Yes.
so you are a tea like connoisseur
Well, self-proclaimed.
in my mind.
Yeah.
more
Not
about
really, but okay.
more about tea than maybe the average person.
Right. Right. I would say so.
So tell me, like, give me a glimpse into that time together at the end
Right.
and the tea and how that related to Psalm 23 and just your passion for savoring time with
Right.
people.
So I started doing these teas with my friends in high school. And so this was a tradition that has carried back over half my life. And I just love having tea time with my friends because it is an intentional time to come and sit and just linger with over food, over beverage, but whatever it is, it's just a time to linger. And I think so much of our time now is so scheduled, and you can only allow a certain amount of time for this, this, and this, that when I host these, I purposely try to make the atmosphere of one of people feeling like they can come and relax and just be. And so, some of ours last 3+ hours just because everyone enjoys it so much. And that's my goal. That's what I want people to come and do.
Mhm.
And so when we talked about the rest retreat, I wanted to end the retreat on that because we were about to go back to the real world. And everything that we had learned in 24 hours was going to be put to the test. And I wanted us just to spend that last bit of time together lingering and enjoying each other and having fellowship with each other instead of feeling like, okay, we got to pack our bag, we got to get out, we got to go home, and then the list started. And so those times for me are just pretty sacred because it doesn't matter who's around the table. The goal is the same, and that is just to enjoy each other, enjoy the moment, enjoy the food, enjoy the tea, and just appreciate that time that we have, which I feel like we don't get to do often. Our meals are often hurried and rushed and on the go and in between things. And those moments for me just make me feel so connected to other people, and in turn make me feel connected to the Lord because He
Mhm.
allows us to feel His presence through connection with others.
Yeah.
And it was just a nice way to end the retreat. And it just gave us a time just to sort of ground ourselves before we headed back to the real world. So
Mhm. And your maple bacon scones did not
they were
hurt.
good. They were good. That was an experiment, which scared
Yeah.
me. You're not supposed to serve things that you've never served before the first time to people, but I did, and they were so good.
They were delicious. And the
Yeah.
clotted cream, that's a tea.
Every time have to have the clotted cream.
Tell me, what are your favorite types of tea? What do you love to drink?
Well, it depends on the time of day. So in the morning, you kind of need to get that strong caffeinated tea. Normally, my favorite is Irish breakfast tea. It's a strong black tea. Some people like Lady Grey and Earl Grey and all those, but I like Irish breakfast. And then kind of throughout the day, I just like different. I really like herbal teas, especially at night. Like they make sleepy time tea or a stress relief tea. I've really been into one right now with lavender and honey.
Mm,
This is stress relief, and we all need that right now.
that's right.
And I like to experiment with tea too. Just go different places and try different ones. That's kind of the fun of it, is that there's so many options that you can just get out there and try so many. So,
Yes.
and that's what I like to do at my teas. I like to introduce teas to people because a lot of people don't explore that area. And so it's fun to see them try it and see their reactions to it.
I know. I thought that was fun how we had coffee available and people
Right.
drank that, but they really were interested in
Right.
trying different kinds of teas. And so,
Right. That was fun.
yeah, a little happy for the retreat.
Yes.
So, yes, I thought that was a beautiful way for us to end it. And it just made us, I guess, relaxed on the way home.
Yes. Yes.
And because sometimes on the way back, you can start to get anxious and your mental to-do list starts to run. But I know for me, honestly, I came home and usually I am slam worn out, exhausted, especially on events that I've, been planning and leading. But I actually came home rested and I came home with a new sense of focus
Me too.
for my family and for myself. And it wasn't one of those things that went away. Like I really have carried it with me
Me too. Mm-hmm.
throughout this year. And so I just want other people to experience it because it's life changing. It's
It is.
truly like it fills you up in a way that nothing else can.
Absolutely. Hmm. Yes, and I hope that as we continue these, we reach out to more and more people, particularly mothers are just on my heart because it's a hard season when you have young ones and a career and
Mhm.
a spouse or whatever that looks like for you. It is a hard season to set back time for yourself. And I just hope that we can continue to reach these women and show them that it is not only necessary, but it is biblical for you to rest in the Lord. And
Mhm.
in resting in the Lord, you will be able to do, like we've been talking about, we will be able to do life a little bit easier, that we have kind of changed our mindset when it comes to certain things. And so I do hope that as we continue these, more women will come and realize that, and that we can bless their life with what we've learned through this.
Yes, I love it. So I know you and I have also talked about how, yes, we're going to offer our rest retreats. We've got
Yes.
two, scheduled for this
Yes.
year, one in September and another one in January. And so
Right.
people can go ahead and save the date for
Yes.
those. But
Yes,
then
please.
also, you and I have talked about if churches or just groups of people want to schedule their own out, maybe
Right.
that date doesn't work for them but they
Right.
want to get a group together. We've talked about how we can come alongside them and help.
Yes.
They would be the host of the retreat, but we would bring all the retreat materials because
Absolutely.
it was one. I loved like our little journals that we got,
Yeah.
and just the food and how well it was all thought out. And so
Right.
I think that's exciting too.
I do too, especially if you want to tweak it for a certain type. Like if you wanted to host one for maybe mothers who are new to motherhood within the past year, or teenage girls, or maybe you want to host one for the leadership in your church, because we know that church leadership is often the least rested spiritually. We can definitely come along and help you with that, and change things to fit with your specific group's
Yeah.
needs, which is exciting because different times can have different needs of life. And so I'm glad that we can offer that as well to
Yeah.
people.
So I just think rest is something that God, like you said, He calls us to it and it's for our own good.
It is. Mhm.
And so I think when, like you said, we can savor that time, we can go out and be the people that He's called us to be, which
Absolutely.
just helps everyone.
Yes, absolutely. Our families most of all, but yes.
Yes, yes, I love it. So thank you for talking with me.
Absolutely. Thank you for interviewing me.
I love your perspective on rest because you're such a planner. And so like that's a unique perspective, I think.
And it's all about balancing, and that's what I'm learning right now, is how to balance it all. But the foundation of it has to be rest, and that has been a game changer in my life. So
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing, Megan.
You're welcome. Bye, friends.
Bye.